What is up, everybody? Sinestro here, and we are back in Karazhan for the last four bosses, which are the Curator, the Shade of Medivh, the Mana Devourer, and Vizardum the Watcher. So, to start off with, we're going to deal with one of the last crystals from downstairs, which is in the Servants' Quarters, which is through these horrific spider mobs. Now, these spider mobs, they have a huge AoE front cone, which is poison, things like that, which is just impossible to survive, so just be careful. And every time you walk over these webs, you spawn more spiders as well. So just be really, really careful. Like, avoid taking as much damage as possible, and don't panic and just go, oh god, I'm out, and try and leave by running dispersion through the web, because you can get out. But yeah, once you take that portal, you've got the last crystal, you get back to this next section, and you go down here and up the ramp, and now you're heading towards the Curator. Now, the Curator is a super fun boss. He's a bit different to the old school Curator. Again, I said they put a nice modern twist, but he's kind of like the last revival boss is what I'll call him. Things like that. Like everything else kind of after this is kind of a bit of a different thing. I suppose you could say Shade of Medivh is very similar to sort of like the fight that was in the library in the original Karazhan, but it's not quite the same. Once you do that, you head up these stairs. You kill the ghost as you come around. It's pretty easy, to be pretty honest with you. You won't struggle too much and things like that. You are going to get a point in which you can't jump over there, so just be careful as Demon Hunters. You can make that jump, but you got to be extra good. And then you come towards the Curator's Trash. Now, the Curator's Trash is easy, but a little bit time-consuming, because basically, he patrols up and down his room, which makes it a little bit difficult because you have to sort of like line of sight pull stuff outside. It's the easiest way to deal with it. It's just line of sight pull it outside of the room, as you'll see us start doing in a moment. So now first you have this guy. Now if you get targeted by the ability that this boss casts, he's going to spawn orbs around the room. You can just pick them up and that'll make you take way less damage than you would have otherwise, so just be careful with that. And as you can see here, we're now in the Curator's room, where he's going to be starting to patrol up and down the room. So this basically the easiest way to do it is line of sight the mobs out here, kill them down here, out here, and then you're good to go. These mobs are all pretty easy, stunnable, like things like that, like silenceable, things like that. So just deal with them that way is my best recommendation. Once you get to a certain point, like you don't have to pull them all the way out of the room. You can sort of like just pull them back to sort of like this corner here, because the boss does not patrol all the way up the room. So just make sure you're being careful when pulling. So let's talk about the Curator. Now, the Curator is slightly malfunctioning after his previous death in Karazhan, and he needs a reset, to be honest with you, because he's overcharging and making a lot of mess when you engage him now. Now, this fight, without knowledge, is messy. With knowledge, can be controlled a lot more. So basically, what you need to do is he's gonna spawn arc lightnings, right? Now these arc lightnings are gonna go around, and like any DPS needs to turn around and focus these arc lightnings, because when they die, they drop horrible shit on the floor. Now, he's gonna drop a lot of these things. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you sort of like start him at one end of the room and work the other way. So you can start him down the bottom, like you can run all the way down with him and pull him at the entrance over there, and then work backwards, or you can pull him when he's at his far end and then start at that end and work this way towards the exit. However, you can see here he's starting to drop this stuff on the floor. Now, it's not hard to avoid, but it just gets to be a point in which there's a lot of it, because it doesn't go away. So this stuff's going to be there till the end of the encounter now. So you need to make sure that you're nuking down these arc lightnings as soon as they spawn, and you're running out of the stuff that they spawn on top of him. So like staying in a pack and sort of like moving around is probably the best way to deal with this fight, because otherwise what you end up with is being in a position where you're running out of space really rapidly. Like, we have a good DPS in this group. We've got me, who's like a really good single target DPS as a Shadow Priest, and you have two hunters as well, two really geared hunters as well, both with legendaries. And like, we were struggling, like even with the kill time that we killed him in, like there was a lot of stuff on the floor. So just make sure that you're sort of like planning your space and your usage of that space better than we did, because obviously we just went blind. So we had no idea what was going to happen on this fight. At some point, he's going to evocate. He takes an extra bit of damage here. So if you're going to bloodlust or anything like that, or pop potions and things like that, this is the perfect point, because this is the burn phase. So if we'd have planned a little bit better than that would have been the point in which we lusted and things like that. That's the way better time, because evocate, he's just going to take a crap ton more damage. But you can see here, we're starting to try and like see if we can make use of the last bit of space before we make our way up towards the top end of the room again, which we're going to start doing now. But obviously, we having to run through pools and things like that on the floor now, because we didn't realize what was going on. But just make sure you use the space efficiently, and you'll have no problems killing Curator. Man, I love Curator. Curator was legitimately the actual first boss I tanked. There's a video on me somewhere on the internet, if you want to go and find it, of me tanking Curator. It's the first thing I ever did, and that's really awesome. It's really shit. It's really shit quality as well, but like that was like one of the first YouTube videos I ever made. It's not on this channel. It's on another channel. Props to you if you can find it. But that's a challenge out there. If anybody can find it, post in the comments. Maybe I'll get you a prize. Maybe you get some sort of prize if you can find that of me. I don't know what, but we'll see if we can do it. We can sort something out. But that's Curator. Once you kill the Curator, now we're heading into the new stuff. And this stuff, I'm going to be honest, is amazing. So you run through this little portal at the end here, but first you see Medivh talking to Curator and like turning him on for the first time, and basically him saying like, oh, we should make sure we power cycle you every now and again like a computer, because otherwise you get really fucked up. Yeah, but yeah. Once you do that, you jump through the portal and stuff starts getting awesome, because now you're on the ceiling. Oh my god, look how cool this is, right? You're in the Guardian's Library, which is like the bit after Curator in the main instance. And if you look down, like look up, you can see the floor of like where you would have been in the old raid, and that's just so cool to me. Now, this trash, you don't actually have to kill the bats. We pulled the bats, which was bad, right? You don't actually have to kill these bats. You can just avoid them and things like that. And just like avoid the stuff they put on the floor. Also, web ramps are challenging, so be careful of those. So be careful of that. But other than that, you can avoid these bats. You just have to like run through the damage and just kill the trash on the floor. So don't feel obligated to kill them. We learned as we moved on, you don't actually have to pull them. You can just run past them, which will save you quite a bit of time. But once you do that, you sort of like run down this ramp here into this room here with this sort of like floor that turns on different colors and things like that. Don't stand in the tiles that are on fire. That's a fairly obvious one. And then just kill this guy. He's got a big cleave and things like that. He's not a boss. He's just a big sort of like mini boss. Before you're getting to the Shade of Medivh. Oh, the Shade of Medivh. Oh, this is a good fight. Look at this corridor as well. Look how awesome that corridor is. I know we all saw it in the trailer, but it's still freaking cool, man. It just looks amazing. And now we're on to the Shade of Medivh. Now, he's a mage. He casts lots of spells. Interrupts are really, really cool on VP things that cost lots of spells. So, interrupt as much as you can. He's going to put Guardian images out, which are the things that you need to kill really, really quickly. Frostbite is probably the one that is the most important to interrupt, because it deals a lot of damage and it slows down healing and things like that, which is really good. And he's also going to cast something called Flame Wreath. Now, if you've done Karazhan before, you know what Flame Wreath is. But basically, Flame Wreath puts a circle of fire on you. Don't move. If you get the circle of fire, just stand damn still until that circle of fire is absolutely gone, because if you move, you're killing everyone. Alright? And this was the bane of Raiders' lives, because like it was the real test. You can see here I've got Flame Wreath here, and I'm just literally, I'm not moving. I'm taking, like, my hands are not on my movement keys and things like that. Like, I'm not holding down by double mouse buttons. I am just standing damn well still until this like this ring goes away. Because Flame Wreath, if you move, it's just going to kill you. And this was like such a thing in the old school version of the library fight, and it's cool. So once that's gone, you can move, but that's pretty much the Shade of Medivh. He's not a hard boss. He's more just about just like interrupting what you can, killing these sort of like birds that appear as quickly as you can, because they deal a lot of damage and things like that. It's a lot of stuff to deal with. Like, this is the point at which your healers are really going to struggle. So if you've got cooldown healers, this is the point at which you should probably be popping them, because you're going to have issues with healing everybody here, because everybody starts taking a crap load of damage from lots of AoE pulses on these images. But once you've done that, you head through quite possibly one of the coolest sections in this game ever, which we'll see momentarily. Now, I was going to speed this up, but then I thought, nah, because I just actually want to watch it again while we fall, because like it was like one of the best things of all time. So that's pretty much the Shade, though. It's not a hard fight. It's pretty easy. You should have no problems doing this. Interrupts are key, things like that. So make sure you're interrupting Frostbite, interrupting as much as you can, and don't move when you get Flame Wreath. But that's pretty much it, boys. And once you do that, you run out this little door, and then there's this big hole in the floor, and you just jump in. Look how cool that is! Oh my god, Blizzard! Blizzard, more of this, please. Blizzard, more of this. This is like one of the coolest things they've ever done in this game. Like, it's so freaking cool. Like, Oh my god, like that reveal when like you're like, oh wow, this place is huge. Oh, this place is amazing. It's absolutely gigantic. But then you start floating closer to the floor and you go, wait a minute. This place isn't huge. Wait, this place isn't huge at all. I'm just really small. Oh, look at the size of that chest. Oh, look at the size of me compared to that chest. Oh god. That's the coolest thing ever. That was amazing. Like, this was, like, one of the coolest things freaking ever. And we were all just, like, in awe on Discord, like, running through this section. Because, Jesus Christ, that's cool. And that's definitely one of the coolest things we've ever done in a long time in this game. And, like, please bring more of this stuff. Please bring more fun. Because, like, this game is... I mean, Preach made a video about it the other day. I don't know whether you watched it. But he was talking about how this game is really all doom and gloom now. And I completely agree with him. Like... There's not much fun left in this game anymore. Like, when you think about it, like, I enjoy playing this game, things like that, it's fun, and like, but like, there's not much silliness and fun stuff and things like that, and like, Kara was always like a really good reflection of that, and they need to bring more of it back, because this was so refreshing, and so different, and so out there, and so fun, and the more of this that we get, the better this game will be, because then when you go back to fighting the ultimate evil, then, you know, you have a bit more of a perspective on what you're trying to save, things like that, like, and that's great, because, like, we're fighting rats, man. We're fighting rats that summon armies of wall rats. See what I mean about walls? Blizzard has a massive thing about walls right now. But, like, once you kill those rats, you're coming up to the Mana Devourer. Now, the Mana Devourer, he is all about mana, funnily enough. So damage dealers, you need to make sure you're absorbing the loose mana balls that he spawns, but not too many of them, because they do a shitload of damage, and then you're sort of, like, getting rid of them in the areas that he spawns. So you'll see that pretty shortly. So... we marked, like, around the boss, and we were going to tank the mark in the middle of these, the boss in the middle of these marks, right? And then each of our DPS, like, took a corner. And basically how this worked is when he threw his balls out, like, of his mana orbs, which you'll see in a momentarily, we soaked 1 or 2 each, and then we cleansed them. So he does these big AoE sort of, like, circles on the floor here. They're just a big AoE damage thing that you move out of. And then you'll see soon here he spawns these sort of like void zones. But that's how you clear your stacks. Because what he's going to do in a moment, as you'll see, is he's going to spawn loads of balls of mana. Now, these balls of mana, they do a crap ton of damage. They make you deal more damage, but they do deal a rubbish ton of damage to you. And you can't, unless you have like a big cooldown like Turtle or Dispersion, you can't really afford to get lots of them. But if you can get a couple, as you can see here, I pop Dispersion, get a couple, and then run into the Void Zone and cleanse those bad boys off yourself. Then you can see that. Now, basically, that means that the boss doesn't have the mana and things like that. And like that's what you need to do, because the whole idea is if the boss gets to full mana, then it's a wipe. So you just need to make sure that you're absorbing as much of that mana as you can, 1 or 2 stacks each, and then you're cleansing it off yourself, things like that. Now, once we get a little bit more healing gear, we'll probably be able to heal a bit more, and you'll be able to actually have the mana for a little bit longer. But realistically, just be careful with your first couple of times, and just take a stack, cleanse it off, deal with that, and it's perfect, and things like that. And then you'll find that you're not having any issues with that. And then you can see as the more stuff you soak, the more these zones go down. So I've still got a couple of soaks left in those zones, and that's really, really nice. But like, man, that's a really interesting fight, because that's a trash mob that's a boss now. That's a trash mob that's a boss, and that's insane, and that's super fun. And I'm so impressed by this whole place. It's amazing. But as you can see, this fight's pretty rinse and repeat, and once you get to a certain point, it's just about like burning him down, dealing with the mana, making sure that he doesn't get too much of it, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it took us like, I think we wiped once, and then like we came back, put a basic strategy together and pulled it to kill it. Like, it's pretty awesome. And once you kill him, suddenly the magic subsides and you grow back to full size, and then you can loot the chest and get your loot from in there. Now, if you are at any point looking for a point to repair, there is a point you can repair now. So you can go up the stairs behind you and things like that and get a portal out and you can go repair. But now you just fight an army of the freaking trash mobs that you just killed. And you just AoE them, which is nice and satisfying because you just spent like 10 minutes fighting one and then you just get to this point. And then you trigger cutscenes while you're fighting trash, which is great because you're not supposed to. But this is just Lothar and Khadgar talking about Medivh and having a good old lore chat. But yeah, once you've done that, you can sort of like start making your way through to the last section, which is going to be Vizidum the Watcher, who is an absolutely amazing boss, who is probably one of the best dungeon bosses I've seen in a long time. He's really cool, and I think you're going to enjoy him. So once you've killed all these little mana worms, you'll see here, we'll start making our way out towards the last section. We'll go through one of these cool little corridors, and then get to one of like this next little section here where we run up this big ramp. You can just avoid the bats thing so that don't kill them. There's a couple of mobs on the floor that you've got to kill. Let's run through here, and then we get to what would have been the chess event in the old Stalkara. And they didn't put the chess boss in, which I'm kind of glad, because it would have been a dick to like worry, like think about doing it with 5 people. And it wasn't a massive redesign, but what they did is they made it into trash, and they made it into more interesting trash. It was a nice little throwback, and I'm actually quite sort of like impressed with what they did, and you'll see it coming up in a second. So once you run through this door, here's the old chess trash. So you can see here, now basically how this works is the king is not attackable until you've killed another piece, alright? So you have to kill another piece, a bishop, a pawn, a queen, and things like that, and once you've killed them, then the king becomes attackable for, I think, 15 seconds. So the thing you need to make sure you're doing is just like focus one mob, then switch to the king, then focus another mob, then switch to the king, then focus another mob, then switch to the king, things like that. So just like plan that a little bit. So we chose that we were going to kill this bishop first, and all the while these pieces are going to be moving around, setting like areas of the floor or tiles on fire. So you just need to make sure that you're being careful about where you're stood. So you can see here that there's areas that are on fire and things that they explode. So just make sure that you're dealing with that, and then pieces will be moving around and things like that. So just make sure you're watching where you're stood, and then just kill the mobs, then kill the king, and then kill the mobs, then kill the king, then kill the mobs, then kill the king, and that's the new chess event. Then sure, it's not a boss, and there's some people that aren't a massive fan of it not being a boss anymore, but at least they put it in here, and at least they made it interesting, because this was actually like, we found this a lot of fun, and I think it is a really interesting way of doing trash, and it took a little bit more strategy than just a normal normal trash pack. But it wasn't a boss and things like that, and like I kind of see that, because like this place was long enough as it is, and throwing another boss in here would have been insane, especially considering like the level of epic that they put into Vizardom, because he's pretty impressive. So once you do that, you run up the path that spawns here into this sort of like crazy twisting void nether thing, and then from the castle, from the castle basic castle entrance, you have a chat with Medivh, who's suddenly here, and he's talking to Khadgar, and nothing quite makes sense, and you walk out through here, and you open up a door, and suddenly you're in space. And that's cool as shit, boys. That's really cool. Like, let's take a moment to appreciate that like, you start in in sort of like a castle, and you're like watching an opera, and then at the very end of it, after all this time, you're in space, with a giant beholder, and there's spaceships flying around, and you teleport all over the place. And it's amazing. So, Vizardom the Watcher. What do we need to know about Vizardom the Watcher? He's pretty cool. He's a pretty interesting boss. He's reasonably challenging, but he's not overly challenging. He's a good last boss in an instance. So on pull, you have 3 phases. The initial phase is just is the thing he casts called Fellbeam. You just need to lead that if you're targeted with it away from your raid group, things like that. So it's a standard beam, and there's just stuff to dodge on the floor. You won't struggle too much here. So as you can see here, we open up with the boss here. You can see the beam goes onto Ash Cleaver. He runs away just so that he can sort of like move that away from the raid group, and we can just carry on nuking the boss. Other than that, like the ships are going to start bombarding the area, and you're going to get these large, huge void orbs that need to be dispelled off players. So that's going to go onto one player, and your healer needs to dispel that off, but you need to do it in turn, because like as you go through the fight, more and more of those are going to spawn on players, and you can't have them all go off at once because they'll be impossible to dodge, so just make sure that you're being careful. So once he gets to that point, he's going to open up a portal, and you're going to teleport onto the first ship, in which you're going to get a gauntlet. Now he's going to cast a massive laser beam down the middle while you're running up, so you just need to make sure that you dodge that, and you're going to take AoE damage from here. Now once you get to the top, you can interrupt him and stop that beam. It's imperative that you kind of run through this as quickly as you can. Once you get to the top, it's kind of like a rinse and repeat. There's going to be the orbs that you'll need to dodge again, so they're going to go onto players, but this time there's going to be 2 of them instead of 1 of them, and the other ship is going to start bombarding you as well. This one's kind of a good burn phase, but like the last phase is really important. So you don't want to be popping Bloodlust on this phase. You want to be saving Bloodlust for the last phase, as you'll see very soon, because you're then dealing with ads plus all of this stuff as well. This fight's just all about building and building and building and building. So the more the time you're in the encounter, the more mechanics you have to deal with. So once you get another third of its health off, you jump through the portal and you head on to the final ship, where there are a butt ton of ads in between you and the boss. Now, you've got a couple of ways that you can deal with this. If you've got double hunter or demon hunters and things like that, or trash men, any of like big like AoE DPS things like that, you can do what we did, which is literally we just dragged everything up to the boss, got him interrupted, and then just nuked the crap out of everything with AoE. That's definitely a good way of doing that. This is your point to pop Bloodlust anyway, so this is the best time to get on with it. And then other than that, now you're gonna have 3 people with orbs. You might get a bombard as well, again, depending on how quickly you do it, and he's also gonna cast his big laser beam down the center. It's pretty easy to deal with. If you get the orbs, just run around to the edge, things like that, just so that when you're here that does dispel you, you're not having to deal with like lots of orbs at the same time. So we got a double dispel off there because things like that, and we got that. But like that's pretty much it, guys. That's Karazhan. Once you get Visitum down, you get some loot, and then you get to see a nice little cutscene between Medivh and Khadgar, where they talk about Guardians and talk about how Khadgar had the power in him the whole time. But I really hope you've enjoyed this guide. It's been super fun to make. It was a really like time-consuming thing to make, but like I had a lot of fun, and I love this place. And I would highly recommend everyone go and do this one, like at least once. It's a really fun story. It's a really fun experience, and I think it's an example of Blizzard at their best when it comes to encounter design and trash design and things like that. And like Karazhan for me was like this big nostalgic place that I fell in love with this game. Like that was the place in which really solidified me until like almost 10 years ago. Well, yeah, 10 years ago now, like to play this game and love it. And I couldn't recommend more that you go and experience the new version of Karazhan and find a reason to fall back in love with this game again, because I do. Because of all the crap that I hate about Legion, this is really good. And this is something that I am really impressed by. And I think everyone else will be as well. So, for the moment, guys, if you've liked this video, smash that like button. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. Please jump over onto our Discord server as well. We have a Discord that's linked into the description, so you can come hang out and chat with us on Discord. That'd be super cool. There's a Patreon linked in the description as well, on the YouTube page as well. I'm not pushing that, but if you fancy helping the channel out in some way, there's one there. There's a way for you to help there. But thank you very, very much for watching. I've been Sinestra. You've been awesome. And I'll catch you in the next one.